morning, Rachel, and thanks for joining me. For everybody who may be watching this for context, what we are doing here, Civilian offers a service now to help promote and highlight the skills and capabilities for veterans, their family members, even military members, military spouses, active duty members getting ready to separate from active duty. We record these interviews to not only help you practice with some of those interview skills, but to also give you a deliverable at the end of all of this that we can share online so that, HR recruiters and different organizations that may be considering hiring you or have received an application can check you out and learn a little bit more about you than just what a piece of paper says or what their screen says. And, represent you as an individual. Human to human contact, I think, is very important these days where everything has become so digital. So these formats allow us to, promote wonderful people like Rachel and introduce her to the rest of the world in hopes of landing her in her next role. So again, welcome, Rachel. I'm excited to go through the session with you today. Why don't we start out with just, introducing yourself a little bit. What do you enjoy doing professionally, as well as, a little bit of that personal side as well, so that we understand you a little bit better.
Morning, Paul, and I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Rachel, so my background is a little unconventional because in my career I've done administrative title role work, but the actual nit and gritty task work has always been operations, resource coordination, project coordination. I've also had to wear a lot of hats in some of the positions that I have held, such as being a maintenance supervisor, being a sales director, being a general manager, as well as learning my job and then coordinating everything in between. So I've just done a lot of hodgepodge. I grew up military. I still help veterans with some of the resources that I have been able to find, as well as making sure that they do stay connected when they run into something with VSOs and those organizations, because that's what they're there for. I always send someone to a subject matter expert. So for me, it's just everyday things. I am currently in the process of obtaining my bachelor's degree in business administrative management. I just started mod 5 of course 4 for Google project management. What I do outside of office stuff is I do like to cook. I do like to bake. I crochet. All my kids have had a blanket. My grandbaby's got a blanket. So yeah. Watch anime with the husband. But that's really about it. So
that's awesome. It's a great introduction. What would you say, based on your previous work experiences, best demonstrates like the skills and the value that you bring to your work?
It's probably like when I worked at Everstory, because no one day was ever the same. And I did do lots of operational project coordination, resource coordination, because I worked with families who have lost loved ones. And then having, at the same side of taking all their information and digitizing it to archive it for historical references, as well as I was, working on building the inventory for the digitized record, utilizing a system called Plotbox, working with vendors, making sure the invoices got paid. So again, lots of coordination, lots of working parts. And I liked it because I like to see where I start and then make sure I follow it all the way through to the end. So that way there's no disconnect and we don't run into stop-go processes as we're trying to fulfill the things that we need to do to make sure that the families at the end of the day got to say goodbye to their loved ones with them never knowing the headaches that were going on behind the scenes.
And that's a very relatable experience, I think, for a lot of military members and people in the military community, especially, right? That attention to detail and holding things through all the way through to completion, regardless of how much, the effort is, you're going to go ahead and take ownership of something and move forward. Um, so as we continue down this path, tell me about a time, like a difficult situation or a major problem challenge that you've experienced within the workplace, how you faced that, and how your approach added value back to the organization.
So a lot of my experience, because I had so much, especially with working at a historical, we call it a park, but most people do know it as a cemetery. In the death care industry, your records have to be meticulous. It's not just a state guideline. There's licensing guidelines we have to follow from start to finish. And you're walking in to someone else's issues, bottlenecks that come up. And we had one where we had sites that were double sold. So I researched everything I had to do for all the spaces. Who was the initial owner? When did it get double sold? And then coming up with extra solutions, and then adding in the appropriate chain of command, which was I pulled in my general manager, I pulled in my sales manager, I pulled in my AVP. And it's like, okay, here's the situation. I researched it. Here's all the documentation. That way it's easier if you have the evidence in front of you to present it to kind of fix this. Yes, the families were upset, and we came around with a workaround was, hey, we have these extra spaces. They are right near your loved ones to already begin with. So we can kind of make it like a family section in the park. We are not going to charge you. Everything that you've already paid for, you have. There's, the only thing we will have to do is we will go over everything you have, make sure you have everything you need. If you don't, we have that covered, and we can go ahead and just swap everything around. And they were like, oh, wait, you guys can do that? And I go, yes, we can definitely do that for you, because it was an oversight that we have discovered since we are digitizing everything. So we are rectifying it to the best of our ability to do so. And so everybody, the headache was in the behind the scenes. The families got what they had paid for, and everybody was happy, and we didn't have to juggle but so many hats around in the office.
Exactly. And again, taking ownership of that problem, going ahead and realizing that you are a contributing member to a team. You need to work with those above you and your customers and your peers to make this a comfortable situation for somebody who's obviously in this context, grieving the loss of a family member. It's already a high stress, high anxiety environment, helping bring those together. It's very representative of even today's discussion, human to human interactions, and making it a more personable experience as that member is going through that grief period. That's awesome. So how would you then describe, or how would your colleagues, your coworkers, your supervisors describe you from a professional context? What would they say about you in terms of your strengths and the value that you bring to their organizations?
If I'm in a zone, don't bother me, because it's not that I mean to ignore my coworkers. It's they know whatever where I'm in that, just like anybody in the military, even veterans, you understand. You get into that zone mindset and you want to accomplish the task, get it done to move to the next. So they usually leave me messages on Teams, and they know it's like, hey, I'm not ignoring you. I'm going to get right back to you. So, dedicated, very detail oriented, and they don't know how I think. So there goes in that, because they're not used to seeing an operations standpoint working in real time. It's just, so it kind of throws them off a bit. But if they need something, they know they can come to me at any time, Teams me, email me. Sometimes they've text messaged me, and I'm like, okay, I don't know this, but I'm going to get this, and I will let you know who you need to talk to, when you need to talk to them. And if I have to, I'll schedule a meeting for the two of you. Just let me know your schedule. So And that's one of the things that they absolutely love is I don't ignore them, even though they know I get in that zone.
Exactly. And I think that's, something that we can all improve upon, right? We get, especially in this digital age, so accustomed to the phone dings. Let me respond to the text message. My email dings. Let me respond to that message. Let me see what that is. Let me see what that is. But the ability to evaluate all of those different communications that are flying at you all day long and saying, you know what, this is something that I need to pause what I'm doing and go respond to immediately. That family member that's in need. Okay, that takes priority over, the data work that I'm doing today. So let me stop. Or it's, a coworker who's saying, hey, do you want to go grab a cup of coffee real quick? I wanted to ask you about something that we're dealing with. That's a completely different situation. I would love to go have coffee with you. No offense, but I'm heads down right now. I'll get back to you in a couple of hours. So, yeah, I mean, it demonstrates that you are engaged, but you can also prioritize and keep things moving forward. Last question. What type of work brings out the best in you? And what are some of the roles or job titles that you would be most interested in filling and bringing all these other aspects that we just talked about to your next employer?
I'm looking into operations, like more of a coordinator role. Same with like a project support coordinator role or a resource coordinator role, because I like to have the ability to know where the other person's coming from, seeing what I can find for them in the resource side. Because I do it on a daily, I don't even think about it. For me, it's an everyday thought pattern, but it's more of an operations type of logical way of thinking of things. Because I do like taking backlogs and streamlining processes, finding those gaps and fixing them. And if they can't be fixed, bring it to the person's attention who has the say over the policies and go, hey, this is what I found. How do we fix it to make it better? And so we can move on and just keep going, because the information needs to flow. The people need to know what they need to know to do the things that they have to do. And they are reliant on me. And I was like, and sometimes I feel like that queen bee of here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this. And I just keep going. And it's like, okay, now I can do what I got to do.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think, you would do wonderful in any types of those roles of really not just executing or delivering specific actions to an organization, but helping coordinate all of those other activities. We do it for our families with, kids and military spouses that are on deployments and all of those sorts of things. You're used to coordinating and juggling a lot of balls, right? Getting all these different points connected so that everything flows smoothly. And I can see, very easily in the time that we've spent together, how, well that you could do that for an organization or an employer. One last question. We'll wrap everything up then. And I just want to open up the floor to you for, 30 seconds to a minute. Just what else would you like the world to know about Rachel?
I'm very dependable. I'm reliable. I like to figure out processes, where they start, where they end, and where the disconnect is in between, and fix them. Because again, it's my everyday way of thinking, but it doesn't reflect on my resume or when you're filling out the application part, because most employers, the ATS systems, the filters that are in there between talent acquisitionists, recruiters, and HR managers and the hiring teams, that's the side they don't get to see. They just look at a resume and then see if it fits their filters.
Awesome. Really appreciate the time. It's been a pleasure working with you. I really want, the world to see who Rachel really is and consider you for any of the open roles that they have within their organization. If somebody is interested in contacting you directly, Rachel, what's the best way to reach you?
So I do have my LinkedIn account, which is my first and last name. And that also on there has my personal email address, so they can message me and we can connect through LinkedIn. If you want to email me, I have no problem with you posting my email for them to be able to reach out that way if they don't want to do a LinkedIn account. So there's different options to get a hold of me.
All right, I'll list both of those here on the screen. If you're interested in reaching out to Rachel, if you think you've got an opportunity that she aligns to, please go ahead and contact her directly. And if you're a veteran or a military member or a military family member, and you're interested in doing a similar interview like this, please reach out to me directly. My email is doc, at civilian.us. I'll put that up here on the screen as well, or connect with me through LinkedIn. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. And Rachel, I wish you the best.
Thank you again.